Palo Verde is a small populated place in Maricopa County, Arizona, United States. It is located about 40 miles, 64 km, west of Phoenix and 6 miles, 9.7 km, southwest of downtown Buckeye on historic U.S. Route 80. The Sunset Limited is a long-distance passenger train run by Amtrak, operating on a 1,995-mile, 3,211 km route between New Orleans and Los Angeles. Major stops include Houston, San Antonio and El Paso in Texas, as well as Tucson, Arizona. Opening in 1894 through the Southern Pacific Railroad, the Sunset Limited is the oldest continuously operating named train in the United States. With 3 round-trip journeys per week, the Sunset Limited is tied with the Cardinal for the lowest frequency of any regularly scheduled Amtrak route. Each end-to-end journey takes about 2 days. West of San Antonio, the train runs combined with the Texas Eagle. From 1993 to 2005, the Sunset Limited operated an extended service to Florida, terminating in Miami from 1993 to 1996 and in Orlando for most of 1996 through 2005, and becoming Amtrak's longest and only coast-to-coast train route. Major stops between New Orleans and Miami included Mobile, Alabama, Tallahassee, Jacksonville, and Orlando, Florida. However, the route east of New Orleans was permanently halted in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. There have been attempts to re-extend the service back to Florida, but have stalled mainly due to administrative and political obstacles.
On October 9, 1995, the Sunset Limited departed a station in Arizona. Meanwhile, there was a bridge, and as the train crossed the bridge, it happened. The Sunset Limited derailed. 5 cars were derailed, and even 2 splashed into the river. In total, 1 person died, and over 78 were injured. But how could such a derailment like this happen? The accident was caused by sabotaging.
A hallmark of the FBI is that we don't forget, said Sean Call, special agent in charge of the FBI Phoenix field office. There were children on board the train as young as 9 months old, an innocent man lost his life, and many others were injured. He said for 25 years the victims of this crime, and their families and friends, have suffered. We will continue to aggressively pursue this investigation, for as long as it takes, Call said. We are determined to seek justice for the victims of this senseless crime. The FBI says investigators at the scene found a note claiming responsibility and expressing anti-government sentiment, but investigators have not yet found those responsible. This was just 6 months after the Oklahoma City bombing. It was fresh on everyone's minds. People were on edge, said Michael Lum, a member of an FBI task force still working the case. Reports at the time said the note mentioned federal raids on right-wing extremists at Waco, Texas, and Ruby Ridge, Idaho, and was signed Sons of Gestapo, raising fears anti-government extremists carried out the sabotage, but if the group ever existed it has never been heard from again. Several more identical Sons of Gestapo notes were found along the crash site. They had tampered with the tracks, and it was done in such a way that someone knew how to derail a train. Larry McCormick, retired Phoenix FBI agent. That's when Larry McCormick arrived on the scene. He was the acting special agent in charge for the FBI in Phoenix back then. In 30 years in the FBI, I worked a lot of high-level cases, he says. The Jimmy Hoffa case, Oklahoma City bombing case, but this one was unique. Along with the notes, railroad spikes had been removed and left by the track. Whoever did this overrode the railroad's safety system, so the train conductor had no idea what was coming. They had tampered with the tracks, McCormick says, and it was done in such a way that someone knew how to derail a train. Prior to this investigation, no one had ever heard of the Sons of Gestapo, and no one has heard of them since. Mark Potok covered the aftermath of the derailment for USA Today. Now, he's at the Southern Poverty Law Center where he monitors extremist groups. It's been a continuing mystery, he says, and in particular, a continuing question about whether this was a political attack on the government or whether in fact it was just some disgruntled, angry or psychotic person out there. Holly Hansen, the Amtrak chief of police, says she wants justice for Amtrak employee Mitchell Bates. I'm told that Mr. Bates no longer has living survivors, so I stand here representing his Amtrak family, Hansen said at the recent FBI announcement, who then and now were stricken and outraged because of his senseless loss, the tragic loss of a life. So Amtrak and the FBI continue to search for answers, for who was out in the middle of that remote desert to derail the Sunset Limited. The case remains unsolved. On the 10th of April, 2015, the Phoenix office of the FBI announced a reward of $310,000 for information about the derailment leading to the capture of those responsible. The reward is still outstanding as of 2024.
It's been 29 years since the derailment, but how the train derailed, it still remains a mystery.